This next video is going to be amazing. So this is the background NPC. You guys have never watched a video, I highly recommend it. It's a great thing to hear from her perspective of games and stuff, especially her channel really blew up from her first video where she was talking about attractive female characters in video games. And it did very, very well. Even Asmongold caught wind of it and reacted to it. And then basically her YouTube it just launched. It skyrocketed. So it's really cool to see. But it's really cool to see her perspective of it, because usually when you hear people talk about the game industry and how things are going with games and stuff like that, you usually hear from a male perspective, which a lot of the AAA, or not AAA, but a lot of media outlets and stuff, they try to say, and developers, they try to say, this person's saying it, they're sexist or they're misogynistic or something like that. But if a female says something about it, then what can they say? What can they call them? So I like when call outs and stuff like this happen. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's get this going. Be sure to check her channel out as well. It's amazing.
I have spent the last 2 weeks experiencing a crazy amount of whiplash. I went from not paying attention to negative journalist reviews for Crimson Desert to getting a little concerned when initial player reviews started sounding eerily similar, to watching the Pearl Abyss stock drop 30%, to then finally buying the game myself and having an absolute blast with it. But on the exact same day Crimson Desert launched, Fortnite dropped a new season, and then a week later, Epic fired 1,000 people. Now, I have witnessed 2 stories about ambition in gaming this week, both with very different outcomes, and I think the difference comes down to 2 big things that we always talk about. Who are you actually building your game for? And when those people show up and tell you what they think, are you even listening? Before we get into all of that, let's catch up on a few things. Sony just announced that the PS5 is going up by another $100, meaning that
not just $100. PS5 Pro is going up $150. Basically, it's a $900 system, which is $900 system. Ridiculous.
the PS5 Pro is now $900, their second price hike in less than a year. But don't worry, Sony is merciful to us paupers. If you cannot justify dropping that amount of money on a console, you can always just rent a PlayStation via a monthly subscription service if you live in the UK. It is still so early in the year, and already there have been so many layoffs. Crystal Dynamics just had their 4th round in 12 months. Battlefield Studios cut staff after their big launch last year. Ubisoft gutted Red Storm Entertainment. Riot let 80.
That still hurts me. The Red Storm Entertainment. We'll go into an article read of that. She might go into it, but there's an article read on that, and I want to talk about that. Red Storm Entertainment. It hurts. First of all, I'm surprised that it's still a thing. It's still around, but it hurts me because that's where Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, and if I recall, Splinter Cell. That's where they came from. I know for sure Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six that's where like the original games where they came from. And it just hurts me because like that was what made the games what they were. You know, they were very tactical, military, and that's what made those games what they are today. But yeah, it sucks.
80 people go, and Sony shut down Bluepoint, which I personally will never forgive them for, because the Shadow of the Colossus remake was a masterpiece. And speaking of layoffs, let's go ahead and talk about the big one.
Yep.
We found out days ago that Epic Games was letting go of 1,000 people after already letting go of 16% of their workforce back in 2023. Their statement said Fortnite engagement has been declining since last year and that they are spending significantly more than they're making. And of course, even with a decline in players, Fortnite is obviously still one of the biggest games ever made and played, but Epic's response to all of this has been very interesting. Just earlier this month, they raised V-Bucks prices and told players.
That was the red flag. That was the red flag right there. That kind of set it off, where it was just like, out of nowhere, you guys are raising prices of V-Bucks. What's going on, Epic? What's going on there? It's kind of weird.
That they needed to help pay the bills. Yes, that means you, Broccoli Top, put down the Celsius and go help Epic pay their rent. And then a week later, they cut 1,000 people. Now, the gaming industry, and sadly, all of us, are unfortunately no stranger to tone-deaf statements from executives.
Yep.
And with Tim Sweeney already on the leaderboard for this, he vied once again for the top spot as he tried to smooth things over by making a statement on X saying, I don't think about it as people losing their jobs. Now employers will see a stream of resumes of once-in-a-lifetime quality folks.
I don't even work there, and that pissed me off. Like, that pissed me off. Like, when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck did he? Why? Why did he say that? And this is also the same guy who was also like supporting that people need to file a lawsuit against Valve because they're a PC gaming monopoly, because everybody is like, you know, making their games and then putting it on Steam, because obviously that's where everybody goes to like play their games and everything. They don't go to the Epic Games Store, they don't go to Ubisoft Connect, they don't go to the EA app. No, they put their games on Steam. Like, so they did that. And then also Tim Sweeney said that he was arguing that games should not have to games that use AI or generative AI, any type of AI or generative AI to develop the game, he's saying that they don't need to tag that in their game. And I was like, no. So those two things on top of what he just said, where he was just like, just think of it like this: people will have great resumes for their next job. What? What? Bro. Oh my god. And then the issue that we just had with Young Yaz video. If you guys haven't seen that, make sure you check that video out. Where pretty much somebody has cancer, and he didn't say anything until it went viral on Twitter, and then he was like, we'll help him out, we'll pay his medical bills and stuff. Like, I'm like, oh god. And the guy's still laid off, and the person is still laid off. That's the thing. So it's like, this is where that CEO corporate, you know, like, we're just like, dude, we see through your shit, we see through the lies. We do. It's just, it doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good at all. It's terrible. Anyway, it is just, it's just so bad. It's just terrible. So bad.
I think that easily bumps Ubisoft's get used to not owning your own games on the leaderboard.
Oh yeah.
I don't know though, Tim. Could it be that instead of your overflowing charity for the market, Epic maybe overhired, put way too much focus on everything other than core Fortnite, like internal HR initiatives, massive content partnerships, spending $1 billion fighting Apple, and publicly backing lawsuits with Valve. And then your first instinct is to get on social media and act like you just did everyone a huge favor. Meanwhile, Gabe Newell continues to just live out his meme of do nothing and win. With this layoff though, they are also shutting down 3 different Fortnite modes, and for what it's worth,
and the thing is, those launched 2 years ago.
Actually was kind of surprised because their statement that they put out was fairly honest. They said they failed to build something awesome enough to attract and retain a large player base. And with all of this, I just kept wondering, how did Fortnite get here? There was a time when it seemed like everyone and their mother was playing this game, and it caused huge players in the industry to chase the live service model for years.
Because battle royales were, when they came out, the only battle royale that was out was H1Z1, PUBG, Warzone was starting to come out, and then also Apex Legends was beginning, I think. So then that's when Fortnite came out. Remember, it used to be like it used to be a paid game, which was Save the World, and it was a zombie horde shooter. But then they're like, hey, let's try battle royale free. And people played it, caught wind of it, and they loved it. But then again, it's overall, you know, times have changed. People are now playing extraction shooters. And they don't have anything that's extraction shooter based. For a small amount of time, people were playing like Only Up. So then that's when somebody made an Only Up map on the UEFN, and that person made like $1 million, like over like $2 million in a week. because like Tim was playing it, Ninja was playing it, and stuff like that. And then they came out with Ballistic that was supposed to be like Counter-Strike, but it's supposed to be like Counter-Strike without the bomb. In the bomb sites, you just go around and like try to shoot, like find the players and shoot them, and that's it, and eliminate them. So it was like that, but then again, that didn't do so. That didn't really like keep people's attention. So what else can you do? Like Fortnite back then was known for like for the battle royales and their like end of the season events or end of the chapters event and stuff like that. So where can you go from there?
Years because of its massive success. Studios have been gutted, games have been redesigned, entire companies have pivoted to chase what Fortnite originally built, and now even Fortnite themselves is having a difficult time. The thing that everyone was trying to emulate is now struggling itself, and it was not for lack of ambition. Epic had plenty of ambition. They have just been pointing it literally everywhere else except at the people that play their core game. So Fortnite shows us one side of the coin, but what does it look like when all of that ambition actually has a target? Well, that brings us to Crimson Desert. Originally, Crimson Desert started out as an MMO prequel to Black Desert Online, and somewhere during the 7+ years of development, Perlibis scrapped pretty much their entire direction for the game. No live service, no multiplayer, although that might be coming now to be determined.
This will, I'm just gonna say it now, this will blow up the player base so much. I'm not saying it in a bad way. This will blow it up in a good way, that you will be able to play with your friends online on Crimson Desert. Like right now, like a lot of people are on BDO, yes, and people have thousands of hours on BDO, right? But if Crimson Desert does do this, if they say, when they put out that update and say we have introduced the DLC multiplayer component to the game, GG's. Like it's good. Like that's it. That's it. They million players, boom. Like even if not even million, let's go 500,000, 5 to 600,000. Easy.
Just one massive single-player game with all of their ambitious ideas pointed at one thing, a super rich and enjoyable single-player experience, and you can feel it when you play. Now, I didn't get to start playing until the middle of launch weekend, and like I said at the start, by the time I sat down, I'd already seen a lot of the discourse. Mixed reviews, controls complaints, people saying that it was too hard or too clunky, and
Chad, also I want to tell you guys this, right? If you ever look at reviews for a game and you go on Metacritic, if you go on Metacritic and you look at reviews for a game, don't look at critic scores, look at user scores. That's us. That's the players, the actual people that went and played the game and things like that. The critic scores are the gaming, it's the mainstream media like Eurogamer and PC Gamer and stuff like that. No, don't look at their reviews, because then they try to say, oh, it's not, you know, they try not to give it a bad score so they can keep keep getting early access to games and stuff from the game industry. That's what it is. User score, they're just 100% ruthless, they're blunt, they're honest, they're brutally honest about the game, and they will do a breakdown of why the game is really good or why the game is really bad and possible ways to fix it. Just saying.
Outside of like the Paul Tassies at Forbes, I felt the critic reviews were being weirdly nitpicky. Even at this point, after the massive quality of life patches, some journalists
basically they pulled mainstream media. They're basically pulling a Black Myth Wukong. The game is great. Like they're like the people are making changes, they're doing updates to it. They're hearing the consumers and stuff. And they're like, okay, we're gonna make these changes, this and that, yada yada yada. But the game's media they don't like that, so they're trying to nitpick every single thing to make it look bad. But we all know it's good. They're trying so bad to be like it's terrible, but we're like they're doing everything that we actually want the game industry to do, and it's working, and we love it.
just seem committed to hating this game. After getting some time in myself and sitting at around 30 hours now, were some of the initial complaints valid? A little bit, yeah. there is a real learning curve. The controls are not always the smoothest,
That's true.
although I do think that argument has been blown out of proportion just a little bit. But I've noticed that Cliff doesn't always grab a ledge when he should. I had a whole lantern quest that fought me for 20 minutes straight because I did not realize that my weapon had to be sheathed in order to pull it out properly. And I am not a puzzle girl, all right? So some of the harder ones have made me feel pretty dumb, and I have accepted my skill issue. But even with all of that, I am still having a blast. If you only listened to the discourse at launch, you would genuinely think that this was some type of cyberpunk all over again, like this game was utterly unplayable, and that was just not the case. Now, this is not a game for everyone, but for people who do enjoy this type of thing, it is incredibly fun. Combat, climbing, puzzles, taming animals, wrestling, crafting, companions, a genuinely massive open world full of fun things to do, and everything is all working together to make the game as fun as possible. And that right there is the difference. While Epic was scattering Fortnite across numerous different games and
Basically, let me add more to it. Carnage talked to a developer at Pearl Abyss, and they were talking about the story and stuff like that, which is awesome. They talked about the story. What the developer said is, we basically didn't make we weren't thinking of a story component to the game until like before the game was coming out. So there's not really a quest. So don't think of it as playing the game for the story. Play it for the gameplay. It's basically it's like an open sandbox, and an open sandbox RPG, adventure RPG. If that makes sense. ARPG. There you go. That's pretty much what it is. So then people like heard that and they're like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. All right, yeah, I'll think of it that way. But they said if people demand more of a story component to it later on, they'll do an update and like add a story component to it, which again is awesome. Hearing feedback and then making necessary adjustments. True, I already noticed that some years ago, but even the gamers, not all, but some give a good review because, for example, the gamer have the game for free. Well, yeah. True, very true.
Pearl Abyss was pouring everything into making one specific thing as good as it could possibly be. And you can tell because it pops up in all of the little stuff. The background NPCs in this game have genuinely made me laugh out loud. From cussing at me and calling me the C word when I accidentally bumped them over, to an old woman randomly hitting on me in the city streets. The music of the game, I used to Irish dance as a kid, and that one merchant theme makes me yearn for the jig. That stuff is in there because somebody at Pearl Abyss thought it was funny or cool or beautiful and just put it in, because that is what happens when you know your audience and you want to make something that they will love. And at $70, it is understandable people are going to be less patient with any type of launch jank. So even if I personally was not as bothered by some of it, it makes sense that Crimson Desert's initial quirks pushed away certain people. But for the people who decided to stick with it, this is a game built for them, and Pearl Abyss proved that almost immediately. Within 4 days of launch, Pearl Abyss had their first big patch live, with tutorial improvements, keyboard and mouse changes, camp storage, boss nerfs, health item buffs, and then 10 days later after launch, a huge patch. 5 new mounts, faster load times, a sprint toggle, reduced gliding stamina, thank you, instant crafting, bulk
Dude, Steam on Mac as well? Damn.
storage. They even added a prompt for using keys to unlock doors, which was something I personally was very excited about. 2 major patches in 10 days. They are moving wickedly fast, and yes, it would have been nice if all of this was just there at launch, and I am glad that people have spoken up, but honestly, it feels really good to be heard, you know?
It is. And this is what gamers everywhere have been wanting from the game industry. Like, you just hear us out. What's going on with your game? This is the reason why the game is not fun, or like there's an issue with the game is because of this. Is there a possible way to get it fixed? They acknowledge, hey, okay, we see the problem. Let's go ahead and fix it. Like, this is a big priority. This is what's causing not many people to play our game, is because of the controls. All right, let's do an update to change the controls and stuff. We love that. Like that's what if every AAA industry game did that, we wouldn't be in this problem. We wouldn't have this issue of games and being in a downward spiral and stuff. We wouldn't have this issue at all. It's just like, hey, we understand like what's going on, yada yada. Okay, we're gonna roll out a patch or an update, you know, and it's like, all right, cool. And then when you do the update and everything, you be like, all right, so the new update is out. This is what's going on. Boom. That's all you have to do.
Like, I genuinely feel like I am a paying customer again.
Yes.
I bought a game, told them what was frustrating, and they fixed it in days, not months, not years. And that is sadly not something that should feel like an anomaly, but after years of, notably Western AAA, studios treating player feedback like an Avengers level threat instead of just useful and helpful information, it kind of is.
Yeah, and also the great thing is, Crimson Desert is another perfect example of functionality over quality. The game looks good, right? But they didn't go super insane with the game. Like the graphics, it's not like you don't need a 5080, you know, and they have super high fidelity graphics for the game. Like if I recall, the recommended is like, you know, hold on, let me look at it. Was it Crimson? Yeah, whoops. Crimson Desert, what was it? PC requirements. Let's see what they say. All right, so performance specs. Okay. So you need here. You have a link there? Yes, I'll drop it after. Let's see here. So minimum for upscaled 1080 30 FPS. You need a Radeon 5500 XT or an NVIDIA GTX 1060 CPU. You need an AMD Ryzen 5 2600X or an Intel i5 8500, 16 gigs of RAM across the board. Operating system Windows 10 across the board, storage 150 gigs across the board, SSD required across the board. That's minimum. Low, this is 10 at 30 FPS. You need for GPUs, it is an AMD Radeon 6500 XT, GTX 1660. CPU still the same thing as the minimum. Recommended for the medium, 1080p 60 frames, 4K at 30 FPS, AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT, a GeForce RTX 2080. CPUs, you need an Intel i5 11600K or a Ryzen 5 5600. High 1440p 60 FPS, you need a 7700 XT or a RTX 4070 AMD. For CPU, you need AMD Ryzen 5 7600X and an Intel i5 12600K. Ultra max is basically 4K 60 FPS. Need a 9070 XT, and then you need a GeForce RTX 5070 Ti. Processors, you need a Ryzen 7 7700K, not even a 9000 or 8000 series, which is crazy. And then you need an Intel i5 13600K. What the great thing is this area right here, this is a sub $500 PC, maybe. Actually, probably lower than that. A potato PC just to play the game. It's not super high fidelity graphics or anything like that. It's not required. So it's amazing. It's great. Games can't do that anymore because they want everything to look so pretty and everything. Like theirs is more quality and graphics over actual functionality of the game. They're like, dude, I don't care if it looks like shit. As long as the game can run good, we're good. Hey, people were mad about this puzzle. People were mad about the controls. Okay, that's a functionality issue. Let's get that fixed. boom, they got it fixed.
That used to be the norm. That used to just be how this worked. Either the game released polished to a T, or the developers were ready and waiting to accept and act on the players' responses. And the fact that this feels so rare now says way more about the industry than it does about Pearl Abyss. We paid for this game, we showed up, and
Yes.
Pearl Abyss is treating us like that actually means something and is important. Like we are people who bought their game and deserve to have a good experience. We're not a problem to manage or a community to pacify
it's
or
same
just a
thing.
revenue stream to optimize, just their customers who they want to make happy. And the reason that they could move that fast is actually the whole point. They were laser focused on their game and their audience, so when players showed up with feedback, there was nothing else competing for that attention. And instead of getting defensive about it, blaming their audience, lashing out over the critical reviews, they just listened. They went down the list of complaints and started fixing things and actually thanked people for the feedback instead of getting weird about it. Most studios would have put out some type of big roadmap and asked everyone to just be patient. Pearl Abyss just did the thing. So where does this leave them? 3 million copies sold in 5 days.
Boom.
Steam reviews going from mixed rating on launch night to very positive. And Sunday morning, a week and a half after launch, Crimson Desert just hit 276,000 concurrent players on Steam. A new all-time peak. Most single-player games start to lose their concurrent players in the first week. Crimson Desert is gaining them. When looking at both studios, Epic and Pearl Abyss, it is clear
It's also because of how the game is designed. Again, since it's an open sandbox, basically it's an open sandbox. What was it called? ARPG. Goodness. It's going to take a long time, especially if you want to 100% complete the game. I heard it's ridiculous. It is ridiculously long. Like, you're going to be spending over hundreds of hours to 100% the game. So
that both of them have ambition. But everything Pearl Abyss has done is to make their game more enjoyable for the people playing it, and everything Epic has been doing for the past few years or more is to... I'm honestly not even sure. But the bottom line is that Pearl Abyss is focused on us, the players. They filled their game with passion, love, and so much charm, and all kinds of weird, funny details that are only in there because somebody at the studio cared and thought it would make for a more fun and enjoyable experience. Not increase their brand presence or optimize revenue streams. That's the huge difference. And what is funny is that it's not like Crimson Desert even launched broken or technically unfinished. We have seen what actual broken launches and promises broken look like.
Yes.
No Man's Sky, Final Fantasy XIV, Cyberpunk, and those studios earned their second chances because they listened to their players. Pearl Abyss didn't launch in a broken state. They didn't lie about what the game included. In my opinion, it was a good game that launched with some rough edges, and instead of shaking their fist at players and accepting critics' reviews, they just started making improvements because their players told them what they wanted and they were smart enough to actually listen. Now, I've said this before, but do you like the game you're making? And do you like who you're making it for? Because when you like your audience, they are not your enemy, and listening to them isn't a chore. The right thing to do usually is pretty obvious. Ambition is cheap. Any studio can have ambition, but ambition only means something when you aim it at the correct target, the people who will actually show up for you. Pearl Abyss had a stupid amount of ambition and a very clear picture of exactly who it was all for, quirks and all, and that's why 3 million people bought it, and that's why the reviews flipped, and that's why a 30% stock crash turned into recovery in under 2 weeks. And if you're Epic, if you are the company that built Fortnite, a game that genuinely changed the industry, and you can't even remember who you built it for, that is not a layoffs or a V-Bucks problem. It is a who is this even for anymore problem, and sadly, your audience figured that out long before you did. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I would love to know your thoughts on everything. Are you playing Crimson Desert? If so, what do you think? And Pearl Abyss, if you are somehow listening, well, apparently you might be, because you've literally just added the key prompt I was about to ask you for. Please allow me to skip NPC dialogue and cutscenes, and my life is yours. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.
great video, amazing video from the background NPC. Let me go ahead and link her video in the chat. There you go. There you go. Yes, it's man, great video. Make sure to Make sure to drop her a like. Make sure to subscribe to her channel. Amazing again. And the let's see here. The definition of open world in some games is not correct. Yeah. Hello Games. I love that game. I love that company. Plus free stuff. A lot of content Hello Games give for free. Remember old good times. Well, old times don't have DLCs because games are complete. True. Very true. Like, I will say this when it comes to the game industry, or when it comes to live service, I'm not a big fan of live service games. I am not. I will tell you that wholeheartedly. Do not like it. But I actually did like it when the game industry, earlier game industry, where our early live service, when they had updates for the Xbox 360, because they were small, they were like small updates, like adding a map to the game or like a DLC or something like that. Like that's what I liked. So, but after when they started really going into microtransactions and things like that, that's where they lost me. So, but that's just me. Anyway, make sure to go check her video out. I'll make sure to have it linked in the description down below. And also, yeah, let me know what you guys think about the whole thing with Crimson Desert, and how the game industry is just like hating on them now because they are like, hey, we're just doing what our target audience wants. And yeah, that's all I got. Top channel. See you guys later. Have a good one. Peace.